Welcome to the channel. I'm going to do things a little different here than what I'm used to seeing on YouTube. There's a lot of good channels out there that display, from top to bottom, all the cool things about firearms. As a shotgun, it eats up ammunition like a beast. So, can I port load emergency? How well does it reload? How well can I get this back in action? So that's what I look for before I purchase a firearm, is how well it's going to work for me. Because at the end of the day, I don't really care, how it looks. The big thing is the performance. Remember, you look 14.7 times cooler winning a competition or a gunfight with an ugly gun than you do losing with a pretty one. Gargamel. It's a fact. One thing I want to touch on is the importance of dry fire. Dry fire is priceless in your endeavor to better yourself as a shooter or tactician, or protecting yourself in your house, on the street. Anything that you can put forethought in ahead of time. How hard to find ammunition and how expensive it is. Dry firing is invaluable in progressing your skills. Dry fire is priceless, and to do it safely, you should go and look into dummies, dummy rounds, inert ammunition. Some people have seen snap caps. They're great and everything. They supposedly help your striker or firing pin protect it, but in the long run, that doesn't really matter for center fire cartridges. What is important, however, is the weight of it and the feel of your ammo, whether you're using pistol ammo or rifle ammo or shotgun ammo. You want something that's going to feel like the real thing when you're doing all your dry practice. You can practice reloading techniques without hurting anything in walls, dogs, or TVs. Always make sure to put all your live ammunition away from your workspace. Even if you are in your loading room, put the live ammunition away from your workspace or your area, your practice, where you practice at. One good thing to do is color code or label your bin or whatever for the dummy rounds. I had these particular ones, and they're all like a gold, so I know to keep those away from live ammunition. These were made by a friend of mine who's a world-class shotgunner. Mike, thank you. A former Austrian friend of mine actually touched on this subject as well. He said, and I quote, "Please, for the love of all of the things that you hold dear, either manufacture or purchase the dummy ammunition. Remember, don't screw your freedoms. Get a dummy. Don't be a dummy. Easy." All right, skills unique to the Tavor that kind of separates it from other semi-auto guns, pump guns, is the rotation of the tubes. So that is one of the first things you want to do to go out there and practice rotating the tubes. So I can tell you, when you first get this, the button here for the cylinder release is stiff. If you don't get it exactly right, it's going to stick and bind. One little super secret thing I'm going to give you, and it's for free, is instead of pulling your finger and pushing it here, all right, just extend your trigger finger off the trigger and hit it with your knuckle. You hit it square on the face of the button, and it is less likely to bind in that fashion. So you can get a good, fast rotation. If you hit it out here, it has a chance to bind. Right now it's bound and it's not doing anything. I have to go in a little bit deeper in order for it to finally go. So that is one of the things that you need to work on when you first get this in your hands, is to make sure this is loose. One tip to work this thing in, I took it all apart, and thank you to PK808, I think that's how you say it, Peak808. He has another channel on YouTube that was very informative, and I very much appreciate it because it allows you to take this thing apart and put it back together again in order to maintain it, get the ins and outs, see how things work, see how things can be improved upon. So thank you, Peak 808. So what I did, I got in there and I greased up the cylinder where it, right here where it rotates in the body. I put Brian Eno's Slide Glide in there, and it has made it, it's worked in pretty good. So that is one thing that you can do in order to ease up the cylinder. I keep referring to it as a cylinder because I shot a lot of revolver back in the day, back before I was gray. When you first get your Tavor, just work it in. Also, you can feel it when it locks into the next tube. So it is important to get the feel for that, because if it's slightly off, it's not going to feed out of the tube into the lifter, and it'll bind up on you and you'll have a hell of a time. So feel that. As soon as you get off the cylinder release, get off of it and turn, and then you can go lock it in to the next tube and be good to go. I did stipple the tubes here to make it easier to get a good purchase on it when spinning the cylinder. So just get out there and practice rotating the cylinder. So one huge factor for me before I purchased the Tavor was, hey, can I load from the port? Can I load into a port for an emergency reload and all the tubes are depleted? And in fact, yes, you can. And I will show you an example of how the Tavor is better than some of the other options that are out there as far as traditional shotguns go. You can attach the side saddle on the right side or the left side of the firearm, which will give you more options on carrying the ammunition if you don't have all this junk on. So loading from an emergency port load can be done from here. If you had a side saddle on this side, you could load from this side up and over. I'll just go ahead and load from this here. So loading two into the Tavor. All right, shooting. Safety goes on. I go for my reload, one into the port, feed that, and then feed that, and then twist and bam. So I just loaded two in an emergency reload, and it didn't really cost me a whole bunch of time. That's another way to be efficient. All right, loading support side with a load two technique. Grab two, pop one. So loading, that's where this thing shines really, is the ability to load it from any different position. So being able to load from either side of the shotgun will allow you to do your favorite technique that's efficient, smooth, and has less probability of failure. So depending on the orientation of your shells on your belt, you can also grab them like this and keep downrange covered and load up. If you're more comfortable with the fiddle position here, it can be pointed downrange. You can grab 4 with your strong hand and load it up. And Charlie Daniels is going to be very proud. Rest in peace. So the only thing that dictates how you load pretty much is how comfortable you are with reloading techniques and where your ammo is on your person. I want to display how fast you can load with the traditional type of shotgun. So let me get something from here. So if I go up, fire, empty, emergency reload. Up, fire, emergency reload. All right, so the safety is on. Up, fire, emergency reload, fire. I'll do that again. Up, fire, emergency reload, fire. So this is faster to get up in an emergency situation, whereas the Tavor, it might be better if you go to your sidearm if it's cutting it that close. All right, cons. There's not a lot of cons going on with this thing that I have yet to find. There's a break-in period, but there's a lot of things on the market that have break-in period. I just ran a whole bunch of slugs and buckshot through it, and it seemed to loosen it up. And I've been practicing with birdshot, low brass birdshot, and that helped out a lot. The trigger is terrible, but it's what to be expected of a bullpup design. Whereas the Tavor rifle has the trigger pack, and there's aftermarket triggers for that to make it really, really nice. But on the flip side of the coin, you don't want a light trigger on this because you're going to be all up in this monkey trying to manipulate it to unlock the tubes, rotate them. You're doing a whole bunch of extra stuff, actuating, and you don't want to actuate that trigger into an ND and then put a hole in something that you don't want to put a hole in. It'll be a bad day for your friends. It'll be a bad day for police, anybody that has to come up and clean up after that stuff. One thing I have an issue with is one of the selling points on this to the uninitiated is this catch right here. It does absolutely nothing for you. What it does do is hinder your reload, because now you got this hump here, and it could easily be smoothed out by just not having that there. You can train through it, but you got to know that that thing's there and start your insertion here. It's just something there to trip over. It does what it's supposed to do sometimes. One little complaint is in the design of the tube housing. It could be a little bit better, and maybe on a different generation they can work that out. But the shell catch is recessed in there to where you have to actually insert your thumb past that. So you have to go into the tube with your thumb. This can actually hinder you in making a smooth reload. If that was recessed a little bit more, you might be able to get in there and just be able to slap it through. But all in all, these are just small little complaints of just, after using this thing for a while, something that could be improved upon, but it's not a make or break deal at all. There's more pros than there are cons, definitely. So, final thoughts. I love the Tavor TS12. It was a very good purchase. I would definitely buy another one, maybe for backup. The cons are outweighed severely by the pros of the platform, the functionality, the shootability, the size and the weight. The engineers did a stupendous job on designing this. There is a break-in period, of course, but it's small. It seems to be operating good enough to practice with cheaper birdshot ammunition, which is something that I was really wanting when I was looking. I have other gas guns and they choke on the cheap stuff. As long as it keeps operating as it's supposed to, I think it's safe to say that this is my favorite gun to go out and shoot and practice with. All right, so if you found this informative, please give a like, subscribe to the channel. We want to try to keep doing this as much as possible because it's something that I look for when I'm scanning through videos, looking through videos. I'm checking out stuff. Is this going to work for me? And I hope you do the same. Thank goodness out there's channels that give the overviews and they give the rundowns of the items that you're looking at, that you want to spend money on. But I want to make sure that there's something out there that displays, hey, what is this capable of? Let me know if you want to see anything else on the Tavor TS12, maybe some skill building drills. If so, let me know in the comments. Thank you, and God bless.